Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Freedom Rings, Book 3 of The Circle by Brenda Hardwick. And this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue. 12 shops, all are located in busy or what used to be busy metropolitan areas from one coast to the other. Some aren't so busy anymore. They were all open back in the early days when the country was getting started. Today, the shops have all seemed to fade into the background, almost disappearing until recently. People forgot them, forgot about the owners who were so old that nobody knew or asked their ages, forgot about the fact that those shop owners were always there, had always been there. From the beginning, people ignored that the owners were from Africa. People ignored the fact that shop owners had all been slaves, and nobody spoke of those memories. When you entered the doors, any of the doors, you might feel a tingle brush your skin. The magic held in the walls within the shop owners would awaken to meet the customer and provide service for their needs. Anyone who came to one of the shops came because of a need. The shops had seen a lot of history. The owners had seen a lot of people pass through, but even that had begun to slow down to the point of only a client or two a week. The magic held strong and vibrant, but the owners were no longer vibrant. They were tired. 400 years ago, they were children chosen, primed, and made ready for any threat to their mission. They helped everyone and anyone who came through the doors of their shops. Now, even they had begun to forget things. After all the years of anonymity, they'd finally been discovered. Their magic recognized as the threat it could be to the wickedness that systemic racism brewed. When they were attacked, the complacency of their long existence failed them. Their numbers reduced and replacements found. They needed to fight. Chapter 1. Gracie, today you're going out on your own to Miami to check in on Nathaniel and Fannie Mae at the family shop, and then to Los Angeles to check on Kenyatta Griffin at the light shop. Kenyatta, another apprentice whose elder had died, leaving him without a mentor. You trust me to do this without you? I mean, I can, but I know I can, but Gracie stammered. Gracie, your performance has been exemplary. I'm now confident enough in your comfort level with the power source and your command of the elements while on the plane that I know I can send you out alone on your independent missions to the other shops. Soraya Rawlings felt full of a sense of accomplishment, sprinkled with a shade of exhaustion. She and Graciela Newburn, or Gracie, her new apprentice, had spent the better part of the last month learning all they could about their own gifts by walking the dream plane every day, and some nights. The two of them nestled in pillows, sitting in front of the fireplace located behind the shelves at the back of the browsing room of the home shop in Harlem. The women had work to do on the dream plane, so the shop remained closed today. Customers would have to wait until tomorrow. While on the plane, their bodies remained safe amongst the pillows. Their spirit essence, their souls, is what did the traveling. Gracie beamed. Very cool. Let's get this started. Oh, what about you? What are you going to do today? Don't worry, there's enough work to keep both of us busy. I'll be visiting Randall Stevens in Chicago's Hearth Shop before dropping in on Talavera Prentice at the Love Shop in Washington, D.C. That said, the women made their bodies comfortable since they'd be sitting there for a few hours, or at least their bodies would be. Okay, Gracie, guide us into our meditation. Gracie grinned from ear to ear before closing her eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through pursed lips, she began. Gracie continued through the meditation ritual, talking herself down from the excitement of learning about her first trip without Soraya. Gracie and Soraya simultaneously made their own connections with the ley lines, the source of their magic. The ley lines lay everywhere, crisscrossing the planet and all interconnected. These ley lines were the natural grid of the power source, the circle, and their ancestors tapped into. It ruled their use of their magic. Within a few heartbeats, Soraya and Gracie materialized at the crossroads, the way station from which they always started before heading off to their specific destinations. I'll see you back in the pillows this afternoon, Soraya called. Gracie smiled. You've got it, Miss Soraya. I'll be there. I won't disappoint you. Gracie faded, and Soraya followed suit, each headed to their respective shop destinations. Each of the apprentices now actively shielded the 12 shops that made up the circle. Each shop was unique as the magic that now protected it. When Soraya visited one of the shops, she remembered a description from a book she once read about a shop, noting that whoever entered the shop would find that what they needed, even if the object carried a curse or required the person to pay a hefty personal price for using the item they purchased. Except that the circle's shops weren't creepy and didn't hold or carry any dark intent. The gifts of each apprentice were so much stronger and more intense than those of their elder mentors. The apprentice's abilities amazed Soraya. She recognized the artistic beauty and the diversity of those gifts used in laying the fine energy work of the defensive traps at each of their respective shops. Soraya made a point of cataloging the offensive possibilities of each apprentice. She noted the strength of each gift and the fortitude of its wielder. Soraya also needed to know whether each apprentice would have the stomach to take a life if ever necessary. Soraya's trip to Chicago's hearth shop proved uneventful. Randall's traps were solid but not lethal. Instead, they were strong enough to render anyone with ill intent towards Randall or his shop unconscious until the authorities arrived. Randall had used sound and color vibrations to weave a trance-like state around a person. The trance could easily be ramped up to kill. Her next stop is the Love Shop in Washington, D.C. Hi, Talavera. I came to see the work you've done. Talavera Prentice possessed the amazing gift of chaos force manipulation. Her medium brown-skinned frame was tall and slender, but well-toned. Her demeanor made you take a step back. I wouldn't want to piss this young woman off. She could hurt you, Soraya thought. Soraya observed that this set of traps contained one of the more lethal arrays of magical weaving she'd ever seen. Can you show me how your traps work and explain what you've learned about your gift? Talavera's eyes lit up at the invitation. Sure. Let's use somebody relatively harmless for this demonstration. Talavera pointed at an old woman leaning on a walker and watching the traffic go by. Keep your eyes on the old lady. Soraya watched as Talavera gathered the energy from the closest ley lines. If she blinked rapidly or closed her eyes, Soraya could see and feel the energy move from the ley lines to the person pulling it. She watched in awe as Talavera displayed her talent. Talavera narrated while she worked. I can take any emotion in a person and touch it with the chaos energy. Once the chaos in an emotion is ignited, I can focus it and concentrate it. Then I can whip the emotions into a frenzy with my intent before releasing it on my target. The chaos energy becomes an invisible stream of controlled power that engulfs that person and physically moves the person away from the shop in the direction of my choosing. Soraya watched as the old woman suddenly stood up straighter and gripped her walker with both hands. Soraya observed shimmering summer heat waves rising from the sidewalk to swirl around the woman like a mini tornado. The waves moved slowly at first before picking up speed. They pushed the woman backward about 3 feet, dragging the walker and stopping just before her feet would have been on the lawn behind her. The woman looked around bewildered, glancing back and forth between the corner where she'd been standing and where she stood now. Soraya could see the woman's total confusion as to how she'd moved at all. Talavera finished with a loud exhale, shaking her head as if to clear it. Speechless, Soraya also wondered about her elder Willem May's gift. Even a lesser measure of such power had to be an amazing thing to see. It saddened Soraya to know that Willem May's untimely murder made a real-time comparison impossible. Soraya commented, So you only moved her 3 feet. You have that much control over your gift already? Talavera laughed. Oh, yes, I didn't want to hurt the old bird, and she wasn't exactly a threat. I just wanted to show you what it could do. I believe that my emotional connection to the potential threat and the intent of the person posing that threat also makes a difference. If she'd been a real threat to us, I could have moved her much farther away. The way you have the traps layered around the shop is very complicated. You don't have to be paying attention for the traps to move people away. That's the beauty of my traps, Miss Soraya. I set the intent and the energy level to correspond with the level of malice and harm that the intruder brings to bear when the traps are triggered. Ah, so if they are truly planning on murder, the response of the trap will be pretty severe and the intruder will be blown far enough away that coming back on the same night won't be an option. Impressive. Yes, I also added a siphon of their desire to complete the mission. Excuse me? When the chaos blows, it siphons off the intruder's desire to finish the job, using that energy to fuel the distance. They won't want to come back. Talavera rightly expressed pride in her accomplishment. Soraya and Talavera continued their conversation as they walked back into the love shop. Well, I hope we won't have to find out how well it works, but I don't think we'll be so lucky. Do you have any questions for me before I go? Talavera looked thoughtful, glancing around her shop. I guess my only question is, do you know which shop is the next target? I mean, since Miss Willamay is dead, do you think they'll come back this way anytime soon? Soraya hugged the other young woman. From experience, Soraya knew that Talavera would be able to feel the hug even though Soraya projected from the dream plane. I haven't heard or felt where the next target will be. So far, they haven't repeated any of the shops they've already hit, but nothing would surprise me. Stay vigilant, Talavera. I'm sure I'll get a warning before they strike, but I'll see you again soon anyway. Soraya returned to her tiny kitchen table in the home shop. She reflected on her conversation with Talavera while reviewing her spreadsheet listing each apprentice and their gifts. 4 apprentices were on their own now, except for the copy of history located in each shop. This odd book that recorded everything that happened in the handwriting of each shop owner at the time it occurred. Soraya still found it creepy that the history seemed to know things and could turn to the very page containing the needed information once opened by an apprentice or elder. Soraya was reading about Chaos Force, considering how Talavera's gift might be used as an offensive weapon when she felt, rather than heard, a scream. The scream sounded like it came from Gracie. Soraya immediately sprung from her seat to run up to the front of the home shop where Gracie's body still sat amongst the pillows while Gracie traveled the dream plane. Soraya checked Gracie's pulse and temperature. Other than feeling a bit warm to the touch, Soraya couldn't see anything physically wrong with Gracie. She saw nothing that should have caused Gracie to scream. Maybe I need to go to the crossroads to see if I can tell what's going on from there, Soraya thought. She positioned herself next to Gracie, dropping back into a meditative state. Arriving at the crossroads, Soraya knew something very wrong and out of balance had occurred. Soraya usually experienced the crossroads as a clear, very calming white space. Right now, the crossroads contained gray, rolling like storm clouds with windy bits of debris flying around. Tiny pieces of gravel pelted Soraya's face and arms as she walked in circles, trying to get an idea of what happened and the direction the debris came from. Gracie, are you here? Where are you? Soraya tried hard to keep panic out of her voice, but the normally serene place had become alarmingly eerie. Then Soraya heard Gracie's voice sounding very far away. Miss Soraya, I need your help. Gracie's voice came from Pinata's light shop in L.A., her last stop. Soraya had traveled there only once when she'd awakened Kenyatta. Nevertheless, she arrived at the light shop the instant she thought of it. Soraya knew right away that something terrible had happened. The debris flying around the crossroads came from there. There had been an explosion. From the look of things, Soraya suspected there might be casualties. Gracie, Kenyatta, are you all right? Thick, dark smoke billowed out from the front of the shop. Debris flew everywhere. Amazingly, Soraya saw no flames. Gracie, Kenyatta. Soraya walked through a ragged hole in the remains of the wall where the storefront and the door used to be. She noted the blast had come from the inside out. What on earth were they doing to cause this? She picked her way towards the hallway, working her way toward the kitchen, where the kitchen had been, only to see a crater on the floor. So the explosion happened in the workroom. Soraya quickly dropped through what was left of the floor and dirt into the kitchen to the remains of the workroom below. That's where she finally found Gracie. Her ethereal form slumped over what looked to be a body. Gracie. Miss Soraya, I think we messed up, Gracie cried. Soraya reached out and grabbed the girl's arm, pulling her to her feet. It looked like Gracie tried to shield the person below her. Soraya asked, Gracie, what happened? Is that Kenyatta? Gracie started to cry. Yes, it's Kenyatta, and I think he might be dead. We were trying out his theory on using our gifts to stop the persecution of Black people in L.A. He used his gift of volcanic power to target a specific area in town where the Brotherhood meets to train their recruits. We only wanted to destroy the building, set them back in their plans. It didn't work like we thought it would. Soraya stepped past Gracie to see if Kenyatta had a pulse. He did, but it beat very faintly. Sighing in relief, Soraya said, "Well, he's not dead yet. Help me get him upstairs into what's left of the kitchen, then we'll call 911. Gracie requested help from the elementals to move Kenyatta to the kitchen. Earth, wind, fire, and water came together, forming a bubble of pure, pulsing blue energy around him. Once the elementals got moving, one couldn't see them or Kenyatta. The bubble just melted through the remnants of the ceiling. The elementals passed Kenyatta through the dirt and laid him on the edge of the crater in the floor of the kitchen. Soraya put out the remaining candles and asked the earth elementals to cover and protect the rest of the workroom until she could arrange for repairs. The elementals solemnly promised to do as she asked. Gracie helped direct their paramedics when they arrived by nudging them to move through the shop to the kitchen. Police also arrived. They began taping off the storefront with caution tape. Once Kenyatta had been loaded into an ambulance and everything quieted again, Soraya and Gracie returned to the crossroads. "Gracie, I'll get the full story from you later. Right now, you need to get home and eat something. Get some rest. I'm going to check on Kenyatta at the hospital, make sure they have what they need to treat him. I'll see you later." Gracie left without arguing. Her head hung low. Soraya went to the hospital. As she suspected, hospital personnel held up treating Kenyatta, who lacked insurance information. Soraya waited until the nurses at the admittance desk were distracted. Then she filled in the paperwork with information that ensured Kenyatta had a match in the hospital system later on. Soraya knew she would owe the elementals big time after this. She vowed that whatever they requested, she would do. She also made sure that Kenyatta would have enough money in the banking to cover any co-payments this would require. Then she listed herself as next of kin. "I sure hope he pulls through this," she thought. Looking at Kenyatta through the windows of the ER as the doctors and nurses worked, Soraya didn't feel very good about his chances. Soraya left the hospital. She went back to the light shop and laced the open storefront with some simple go away somebody's watching energy before going to find the history. Soraya didn't even have to form the question before the book turned to the last entry by itself. "All of us apprentices don't get the no interference rule. What is it that stops us from using our gifts to help our whole race? Why not? Even Miss Soraya doesn't have an answer. So today, Gracie and I decided to test it. No people targeted, just a building and some surrounding land. But it's a place where those sick white people go to learn how to hurt us. If it works, this should slow them down a little." After reading the entry, Soraya knew that Kenyatta wouldn't make it. Her intuition rang with the loss before it happened. Kenyatta would be the sacrifice to teach the others that the rules are the rules. She also knew that it was fortunate that she hadn't lost Gracie as well. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Senseless loss we must recover from. Now we've got to replace Kenyatta too. Well, everybody's getting woken up tonight. Soraya left the light shop to go straight home. The phone was ringing when she opened her eyes. She knew it was the hospital. Kenyatta was gone. Soraya's heart shrank with the pain of the loss, but she was also angry. Why did he have to die to teach us this lesson? Wouldn't his being injured be enough? As she finished the thought, she could almost hear Iona's voice. Injury wasn't enough because they would continue trying to use their gifts to help the masses while trying to avoid the consequences. A death would show them that this was serious and that the rules can't be broken for anyone or any reason. And now I have another empty shop to fill. How do I do that when I don't even know whether Kenyatta had an apprentice out there? As soon as the words were out of her mouth, Soraya realized she knew the answer to that question too. She shook her head and laughed. Of course he has an apprentice. In fact, all the apprentices have someone out there that has been connected to them on the level of the ley line energy. The source takes care of itself. With a heavy sigh, she shook her head again, knowing that when she went back to the dream plane, she would find Kenyatta's cord. Then she'd be able to trace it to the young person who even now might be writhing in unexplained pain at the unknown loss of Kenyatta's life. That meant that she needed to make the trip sooner rather than later. Soraya stood, stretched, and walked to the kitchen to get something to drink. She also tried to find something to eat quickly before heading back to the dream plane. Soraya stuck her head into Gracie's room to see if she rested. Gracie's breathing sounded regular as she seemed to be sleeping well. Soraya pulled the door shut and walked back to the pillows in front of the fireplace. Once she arrived back at the crossroads, it had resumed its normal calm, quiet white space. All the dust and debris gone. The locations accessible through the crossroads sounded loud and clear. She experienced the calmness that she permeated the atmosphere when she'd arrived there at other times. Soraya stood still, looking to the light shop to find Kenyatta's cord. Finding it, Soraya was surprised to find Kenyatta's spirit wandering from room to room of the shop. Hello, Kenyatta, you seem a little agitated. What can I do to help you? Oh, Miss Soraya, I am sorry. So very sorry for what I did here. It was never my intent to cause such a calamity. Please forgive me for overstepping my boundaries. Please extend my apologies to Gracie. She tried to talk me out of what I tried to do, but I wouldn't listen. I'm so sorry. His anguish palpable. Soraya reached out to hold Kenyatta and enfold him in her arms. Sweetie, it's okay. You've paid the price for your choice. There's no need to continue to berate yourself for the choice you made. Take joy in the knowledge that I will be able to use your error and judgment as a teaching moment for the other apprentices. Know that I forgive you. Soraya held Kenyatta tight for a few more moments. Then she heard them call him from above. As she released Kenyatta, she saw tears streaking his face. He tried to smile but couldn't. Looking up, Kenyatta reached upward and passed into the light. Already weary, Soraya sighed before beginning to follow Kenyatta's cord to find the apprentice at the other end.